And welcome back. We are just waiting on George and JR to come back, and we will start up a new stream. This one is for the September Friday Night Fights with George. And that's not George, that's JR. JR beat George to his own show.
All right.
All right. I just heard a beep. Let me put George in here. There's George. All right, cool. Bob Jones says, welcome back.
I'm going to put this one over in the Discord.
Yep. This one is actually up on Marvel Unlimited, if I can show some pictures. Let's do a price guide of this one, though. I kind of like that. Peter,
Yeah, that's
Spider-Man.
I like that too.
25.
We should work that into Spider Histories.
I agree. Let's take a look at that.
Well,
boy, this one's not worth a damn thing. $2.99.
well, this is from a time though. This is from a time when everything was overproduced, like way overproduced. So,
yep. Okay, let me get back to where this is, and let me share screen. There we go. Okay, ready with that. Okay, Bob says, deja vu, Michael Reed. Yes. Hornacek says, I knew you were going to say that. Okay, let me know when you're ready, George. We'll start.
oh, hang on.
Okay.
I can paste the link in there in the Discord announcement. There we go. Okay. All right, hang on.
This is a good one. I recently read this one to prepare for that Paul Jenkins interview. It was really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm
like the second
one.
one. I like the second Goblin story better, though.
I'm a fan of Jenkins' run. Period.
Me too.
All right, yeah, let's go.
Okay, 3, 2. Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to our September Friday Night Fights with George. What's going on, Maximus Baramus?
Hello, welcome everyone to Still Balmy September.
Someone in the chat a minute ago said that reminds me of Wile E. Coyote's handle. When you saw the graphic on the bottom, Wile E. Coyote, I thought that was clever.
Yeah.
And we have JR. What's going on, JR?
Oh, well, I just, I can't wait for this month's Fight Club after last month's Breathless Fight Club, where Spider-Man absolutely contributed nothing to the story.
He threw the DOS ex machina. What is it called? The
Deus Ex
Machina on the guy, and he ended. Yeah, this one's a little bit better of a story written wise, I think. But we're going to tackle. Actually, last month we showed you what the price is on My Comic Shop. So let's take a look and see what this issue is going for. We're going to talk about Peter Parker's Spider-Man number 25, written by Paul Jenkins, illustrated by Mark Buckingham. And this one is going for $2.99. What was the cover price?
The cover price on this?
It's exactly $2.99. It has not gone up in 20 years. There's a variant too. I didn't know that. There's a Spider-Man on a pumpkin. So that's kind of cool. I didn't know there was a variant for that. Variants have been around since 1987 with the wedding issue. So take me through this one, George.
All right. So not really a bunch of context of this one, because it kind of starts off with you wondering what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Because it starts off with the funeral of Peter Parker.
Mm.
Dun, dun, dun. Dramatic music.
Dun, dun.
And so, yeah, you've got Aunt May and Jonah and Anna, Robbie and Randy, all kind of gathered around a graveside memorial. It's raining, everyone looks very sad. And Peter is down in the coffin as they're, doing the whole ashes to ashes, dust to dust and everything. Peter's inside the current, the coffin, just kind of banging away. I'm not dead. I'm not dead. And then he wakes up and he's clutching a goblin mask, and he's being comforted by none other than Norman Osborn. So we're not going to go through the whole history on, because it's Fight Club. What do we focus on? The
fight, baby.
We focus on the fight, but we shall give context for the issue. This is another one of the Norman Peter mind game kind of issues. They fight. Norman gets in his head. Yada yada. Stop me if you've heard it before.
Mm-hmm.
It's been done before, but it's typical. But this is just how things go between them.
Yeah.
And it does give us a very good story. Jenkins does a very good job showing us a young Norman Osborn. JR, what did you think about that? About what, like that sort of reflection?
Well, this is one of the times where I felt that Jenkins was stretching when, Norman gets thrown in the dark houses, and his dad leaves him there, and Norman thinks he hears a green goblin, and it's like, trying to come, the unearthly chittering of a green goblin. Like, it's like, well, no, he became the Green Goblin because his favorite color was green. That's why that's why he chose green as a color. And I just kind of felt it was stretching. I don't personally, I don't need to anymore someone trying to figure out why Norman's the way he is, and it turns out his dad was a jerk or whatever. I mean,
shocker.
Yeah, really.
I kind of liked it. How did he become evil? You think he was just inherently evil? You don't think it was nature and nurture? He had zero nurture with his dad being evil?
I don't, but it's like, I don't know that the story really needed it. But then again, I guess they had to have some kind of context for Norman bringing Peter to this dark house.
Yeah, to do what his dad did to him. I don't know.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but going back to like what made him evil, I think number one, it was a mix of, just being crazy and on chemicals. But also, before then, I think he's one of these types where he gets a lot of power and then there's no one saying no to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's nothing but spiral into his head. And eventually he's got a God complex.
Yeah.
Like a lot of rich people.
He was an angry man. I mean, he was an angry man. He didn't get what he wanted. He didn't get what he wanted out of life. And he was going to make everybody else pay for it. It's like his he didn't get the life he felt he was entitled to. His wife died. That made him angry and bitter. His son turned out to be not the kind of son he wanted. And and then he sees Peter Parker. And Peter Parker gets kicked around or whatever, but Peter keeps coming up smelling like a rose and he's not angry and bitter, and Norman can't stand that. Because it makes Norman realize how weak he is. But anyway, so
I think the problems that Norman has with Peter are, to a degree, not fully, but to a degree, the same problems that Jonah has with Peter, or that Jonah had with Peter not with Peter, but with Spider-Man.
Go ahead.
I'm
Before we get to the fight, I really like this sequence that Bucky did where Spider-Man's dreaming of Uncle Ben and then Uncle Ben dissolves into Norman.
Yeah.
I just think that's cool.
No, it is cool, but
that's very cool.
But going back to what I was saying, I think that the problems that Norman has, as JR rightly detailed for us just then, are the same reasons that Jonah hated Spider-Man for so long. Was because deep down he knows that person's better than him. And they just, being who they are and the personalities that they have, they just can't deal with it. I mean, it gets brushed over a lot, but I mean, at the height of Jonah's feeling about that, it's something that Jonah even, something that, unlike Norman, Jonah, who is actually human, regrets, Jonah took a turn into supervillainy himself. With the Spider Slayers. So
Hornacek says, is this where Peter was drugged by Norman through the toothpaste? Yeah, that was over in Amazing. And this was part 2, if I remember correctly. So, JR, does Peter really fear Norman, or is he just afraid of what he'll do to his family? Peter seems stronger than him physically, says Didymus.
Is he afraid of Norman? I don't know. I think you're always kind of afraid or wary. I should say wary. You're always wary of what a crazy person will do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, ultimately he's smarter. I don't know. He's probably smarter than Norman, stronger than Norman. He can beat Norman, but Norman's crazy and you don't know what a crazy person is going to do sometimes. So I think it's more of, he's not afraid of what Norman can do to him, but he's afraid of what Norman, and kind of like someone mentioned, what Norman will do to the people he loves.
Right.
So because Norman knows that's how to get to Peter, to make the people around him pay, So
George, let's start throwing some punches.
Yeah. So, Norman's playing mind games with him. Peter's already drugged, and in his head, Peter starts seeing Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
And then he's sitting at Uncle Ben, he realizes that Uncle Ben is actually the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
He sees the Green Goblin at this point. He doesn't see Norman. He sees the Green Goblin. And sure enough, he just hauls off and just punches him square in the face,
Yeah.
knocks him back. And then you see Peter hitting him again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he hits the Green Goblin, and then he winds up, like punching behind him and hitting Norman.
Because he's drugged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's even got that drugged out look on his face, which
Right.
is disturbing, actually.
Right.
It's unsettling.
Yeah.
Buckingham's art is really, really
It is.
effective here.
Mhm.
Just to show how like wigged out Peter is. And then, so Norman starts smacking him around. And in his drugged up state, Peter just sort of collapses onto the ground while, Norman's rambling on about the darkness and everything. So you can tell a little bit as time has passed. We're seeing light going on and off, and we're hearing screams, which apparently doesn't alert the neighbors.
What's an Osborne house,
Yeah. And inside here, this reminded me very much of Captain Picard.
Oh,
Remember
I
with,
see 3 lights, or is it 4 lights? I
Four
forget.
lights. There are 4 lights.
There are 4
Yeah,
lights.
With his the episode with David Warner. Yeah.
David Warner was only in that one episode as a Kardashian. He would, of course, later go on and play that Klingon ambassador.
Mhm.
But David Warner's 2 turns on Star Trek, both of them were awesome.
Yeah.
He did a great job on both of them. And that's why you listen to the Crawl Space for the Hot Sports Star Trek opinions. Anyway,
we've had more Star Trek in this
We
show.
have.
Any show.
we have. I think we've probably talked about Star Trek maybe as much as we talked about
Hulk.
Hulk. Yeah, maybe Hulk. Yeah.
Hulk, Spider-Man, and Star Trek all in one.
So so Norman's trying to condition Peter between the dark and the light,
Yeah,
and
look
that's
at that.
what all this
Look
is
at
about.
that.
Got him tied up in rope, which
Another
apparently
rope. More rope.
apparently rope is effective on a drugged Peter.
Yeah.
You know,
he should have done chains, but that
Should
didn't work.
have done change.
Yeah.
So anytime that Spider-Man like reaches over towards this glass of water, when like there's a light on, he gets electrocuted, right? And so he continues to like resist Norman's conditioning. Meanwhile, aside from the non-fighty stuff, which we typically don't cover, you've got Aunt May calling Randy, trying to figure out where Peter is. Randy's like, "Oh yeah, you had to go to town for a thing," because Randy's lying to us. He doesn't know where Peter is. He's worried about Peter just like Aunt May is, but he doesn't want to worry Aunt May. But he's a good guy, Randy.
Yeah.
Um,
The roommate he's had multiple times.
yeah. So later on, Spider-Man's chained to the ground, and when I say Spider-Man, it's Peter without the mask.
Yeah.
He's in the suit, but he doesn't have the mask, and he's chained to the floor. He starts trying to pull up the chain, and the chain electrocutes him, again giving off light. And then he falls back down, and the chain shocks him, again. And there's actually smoke coming off of his body.
Mm.
Again, makes me think back to last month's fight. Remember with the Dreadnought, where the Dreadnought was shocking him, and that's how that's one of the attacks it had on people. And keeps shocking him until he just keeps up. Every time he tries to get up, it shocks him, and he collapses back down. And he yells out, "Why are you doing this to me?" And I imagine in my head, it's like that, like a Charlton Heston grimace, JR from like back in the '60s when like half
Damn dirty ape.
half his face was like teeth, and he's like, "Ah," like one of these things, And he's calling out Norman, he's all angry, and Norman starts crying because Norman remembers like him going through this when he was a kid. I saw this panel. Well, I liked it for the story. I was like, JR probably hates this because JR hates everything.
Norman crying? What?
Number 2, yeah.
What?
How did you feel about Norman crying, JR?
No, it's that's not unreasonable for Norman to do that. Norman at his core is a very unhappy, miserable man. Very unhappy man. And I mean, again, that's one reason why he takes out his anger on the world or whatever. I mean, he's miserable. And deep down, there's, he probably wants some of the things that Peter has and knows he'll never get them because he's a psychopath. But so, no, I don't, I don't consider that out of character.
Well, he had one of those things. Oh, all right. Die in flames since past. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Spider-Man at this point, Peter's turning into like a drooling idiot.
Yep.
and Norman's keeps trying to condition him and get in his head. And by now you can tell Peter's been there a long time because Peter has a beard.
Oh yeah.
This issue is like charted. It's like you can chart the time by how long so he's here probably at least 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder. It's like, or
here's the beard.
at least, it starts making you wonder. It's like, if Peter didn't shave every day, would he just be like a big burly guy? Because I mean, like every time Peter has a beard in the comics, it always winds up eventually being this thing that looks like it's from an alternate reality, much older Peter Parker, right? Because by the end of this, he looks like Grizzly Adams.
Yeah.
No, some people can grow a beard pretty fast. I mean, my father, for example, if he was going somewhere in the evening, he had to shave twice a day.
Yeah.
Because he would shave in the morning and then he'd get 5 o'clock stubble. So that wouldn't surprise me that after about a week, somebody might have a full grown beard.
I'll say this right now, because I don't know if people know this about me or not. This right here, this doesn't happen overnight. This right here takes a lot of work. What you're seeing right here, this face, right? I'm not this good looking, it's not this that easy. All right. It takes a lot of intense prep.
Let's throw some punches.
and by intense prep, Brad, we got plenty of time. I've adapted to your new format.
Okay.
All right. This doesn't happen overnight. There's shaving cream involved on the Brad. I don't know if that's how you roll.
I do. Barbasol and Gillette Fusion 5 blade. That's how I get this blade.
That is the exact same thing I use. I use the Barbasol menthol. And
Sensitive
and
Skin is the one I use.
I use that
green can, I think.
I do clippers and then I do and anyway, it's topical because Peter has a beard. All right. So, Norman is trying to get Peter to chug Goblin formula. And he's telling him this whole time, it's time for you to take your proper place as my son. Right? He's going all Darth Vader on him. What, what's that about? I want you to be my son. Although he's done that more than once, actually. Because he's disappointed in Harry.
I like what Jenkins said. Norman is the father without a son, and Peter is the son without a father. I think that summed both of them up perfectly.
Yeah,
because
and
he considers Harry a failure.
I think it kind of plays back to Norman. Actually, it plays back to a couple things. It plays back to Norman and Peter early on when Norman first started appearing.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was always a pro Peter guy.
Yeah.
Before he was a Green Goblin, he was always thought very highly of Peter. Always thought Peter was smart, and then they echoed that. Remember in the Raimi film?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Remember, which I always thought was a good depiction of how Norman, kind of admires him on that level.
Says there's a team of makeup and beard stylists just off screen at George's.
Yes, it's in my contract with the crawl space. I must be well clothed.
Bob, feel free. You'll feel free. This is once you roll out of bed, that's as good as you're going to look.
Right. So I mean, if you're going bald, shoot the hostage, man. Just I mean, if it was good enough for Bruce Willis, it's good enough for you, baby.
Baby.
Yeah.
Barbasol.
So Barbasol Beard Buster. Oh, so he's trying to get Peter to drink the Goblin formula, and he's got his, with our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict.
Yeah.
That whole, the whole speech, the whole spiel. And so what does Peter do? Because this is Peter written correctly instead of as he was in One More Day, where he was very weak. Here, Peter throws it in Norman's face.
Yeah. Good job, Pete.
Peter throws it in Norman's face the same way he should have punched Mephisto.
Yeah.
But this was a different time, and you had a writer that actually understood the character.
Yes.
Anyway, unlike certain editors who shall not be named, forcing their edict upon the story.
Mm.
So once he throws the Goblin formula in Norman's face, and by now Norman's full suit, right?
Yeah.
Norman's all goblined up, and so he starts just beating Peter down, knocks him across the room, just punches him. Of course, Peter's still drugged up, just hammering Peter.
Yeah.
Bearded, and I'm calling him Peter because he's not masked. He's in the costume, but not the mask. And just hammering him really hard, beating him down. And then Spider-Man finally gets back up, yells out, "Damn you!" And you
Yeah.
you expect to hear Captain America off screen going language, something
No,
somewhere.
he's pissed.
He is. He's pissed and he knocks Norman across the room. Now we start fighting in earnest. Pumpkin bombs are getting thrown out.
Yeah.
Norman grabs a plank. Norman's trying to get away now. Norman realizes, okay, this isn't going to work. I've got to get out of here.
Look at that. Look at Norman run, JR.
Hey,
His ass is rolling.
he's making a strategic retreat.
Boy,
Yeah.
he's running for his life.
He has awoken the tiger.
Look at what
And,
Norman's saying. Ha ha ha! I'm out.
He who fights and runs away lives to see another day. Lives to fight another day. So yeah, pumpkin bombs are coming out. He hits Peter with like a 2x4 or some kind of.
It's like a bad night at Lowe's.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I want to see that in the comic now. I want to see a fight in like a Lowe's or a Home Depot.
Oh, that'd be great.
People whipping out nail guns. And, people trying to use caulk for imaginative things. I set up the, just like a MacGyver on MacGyver kind of fight.
Oh,
but
that's
in a Home
funny.
Depot.
2x4 to the face.
Yeah. 2x4 to the face. And then Norman's trying to get away on the Goblin Glider, and then Spider-Man jumps out and launches onto him and is clutching to his chest.
Look at that frame. That's just awkward.
This is some great Buckingham art.
Yeah,
It really is. So
God,
Norman's
you idiot.
Spider-Man's on the glider, and I had flashbacks in my head of Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Okay.
Remember when Joker is trying to escape, out of the exploding World's Fair, abandoned World's Fair, and Batman jumps out and grabs him, and Joker's like, "Are you crazy? You'll kill us both." And then Batman's at that point, Batman's like, "No F's given, right?"
Adam says Bullseye and a Taskmaster fight at Lowe's. That would be dope.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. There you go, Marvel. That's the event comic I want.
Yeah. What's your Home Improvement? We should call that. That storyline, Home Improvement.
Yeah.
They own the TV show. They can use the name.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Mhm.
Or maybe maybe even Taskmaster and like Deadpool.
Oh God, it'd be awesome. That'd be a great shot.
Like Deadpool doesn't have guns or swords; he just literally has nail guns.
Yeah.
All right, so
They're both on the glider.
they're both in the glider, and Norman's like, "Get off! It can't hold us both." And Peter doesn't care.
Yeah.
Peter's like, "I'm fine with that." And they're doing that cool thing where you're falling and fighting.
Yeah.
I love that when you're so into the fight, when you can't stand the other person so much that you're not worried about falling, you just want to hit the other guy.
Yeah.
Right? That's phenomenal. I love that.
Only in comics.
Only in comics. So they land down on the roof. Goblin starts trying to choke Peter out. A bearded Peter once again grimacing.
Yeah.
Charlton Heston like, ah! And then Peter kind of kicks him away. They're squaring off, and then they both punch one another at the same time. It's like it's like Superman versus Doomsday.
Yeah.
Except without all the collateral damage.
With
for
lightning in
5
the
seconds
background
lapse.
too.
Yeah, lightning going off, and Spider-Man or Norman actually hits him more than Peter hits him. Peter hits him one good time in the face, but then Norman just starts ham-handing him, right?
Yeah.
And Norman, he does some more mind games with Peter. Peter launches himself at Norman, knocks him off the top roof, knocks him off to the bottom roof, and now finally Peter starts. I mean, it just comes double fist and just wham, wham, right? Brutal fight.
Yeah.
Peter looks terrible because he's bearded and he's bruised. And he was basically telling Norman, giving him the "you'll never beat me" kind of speech, and then Norman turns it around. I always did. I already did beat you, as blood is pouring out of Norman's face. But this is what Norman does. Norman gets in your head, and he's already gotten into Spider-Man's head, and he's telling him one day, the darkness will come for you, and all that good stuff. He flips Spider-Man off of him, and Norman gets away, laughing into the night, and Peter just looks miserable. Decision, Norman. I mean, Norman failed to ultimately do what he wanted to do, which was flip Peter to being a bad guy.
Yeah.
But Peter was lucky to kind of come through this. But he started off being drugged. We've seen this before in Fight Club.
Yeah.
Normally doing like the Kingpin. Anytime he goes up against the Kingpin, typically he is impaired somehow. He's either been wounded or he's been drugged.
Yeah, his arms in a swing.
Or he's not impaired and he just goes into prison to beat the hell out of Kingpin.
Yeah.
As JR is probably always wanting to point out, this is how every fight should go.
Yeah.
You know, probably.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to say decision Norman here. Norman, the bad guy, gets away. He doesn't get to do what he wanted to do. But at the end, Peter just looks miserable and broken.
At the end, Norman got in more punches mentally and physically.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But in this state, the mental ones were the one that were hitting hardest.
Yeah.
So,
JR, what are your thoughts on this one?
Now this was a good issue. It again it got to the fact that the conflict is between the two men, not the superhero supervillain. It's between Norman and Peter, and how they approach life and how they've dealt with life's ups and downs. And Norman makes Peter realize that he just about crossed the line. Just about got you. Now you realize you're not so blank perfect. That you can be drawn into the dark side. It just takes a little more to push you over there. So it's but also it demonstrated Peter's resiliency. Maybe Norman wins, quote unquote, but Norman's going to, recuperate for a little bit. He got the crap knocked out of him. So it was a win, but Peter made him pay for it.
Hard to believe this one came out 19 years ago. I'm looking January 2001 is when this came out. Man, nearly 20 years ago, this fight went down.
And someone said Raimi vibes.
Yeah.
The thing is, it takes so long for movies to be developed.
Actually, I have a correction. Sam Raimi told Paul Jenkins, or someone with Paul Jenkins said that Raimi read these two Norman stories that Jenkins did, and he loved them. So there may be a little bit of something in the movie.
There we go. So, I was going to say that, it seemed that this was the story, that started the whole, Norman wanted Peter to be his son, and then Raimi picked up on it, and it was like, well, and I was thinking, well, maybe it was just a coincidence because, like I said, it takes a long time for movies to be, but no, it wouldn't surprise me at all. There's a similarity. Score one for Jenkins. Who nailed this relationship and who left essentially kind of a lasting impact on that relationship.
No doubt.
And I want to spend the last couple minutes here just mentioning, we talked about it before at the top of this thing. Really did love the Jenkins run. It gave us a very human Peter Parker.
No doubt.
A very realistic human Peter Parker, and showed how he was struggling to deal with things and how he went about that. And it was some of the more interesting Spider-Man stories, I think, that were done at least in the 2000s.
Agreed. Any other final thoughts, anybody? All right. Oh, go ahead, JR.
No, I was about to say, I just was thinking about how well I was thinking of this story, and I was thinking of Death in the Family. And I was just thinking about how well Jenkins gets the Green Goblin as well.
Yeah.
Because not everybody does. Not everybody does. A lot of writers think he's just a cackling Joker ripoff or Lex Luthor ripoff or whatever. But Jenkins usually brings something when he writes about Norman.
JR, did you get to catch the interview with Jenkins, by the way?
I haven't yet. I know that I'm supposed to, but I haven't gotten around to it.
He touches on having a disagreement that he was dead set to win when it came to Peter yelling out that he was going to kill the Goblin, that he was going to kill Norman at one point in that 4-part story.
Yeah.
And I guess it was Macchio that was the editor, and he didn't like it. And I was pointing out at the time when Brad and Paul Jenkins were talking about it, I was pointing out he's been here before. The moment Norman killed Gwen, he was even screaming he would kill him. Peter's always been that way. Peter's always been a hothead, number one, but he has always reacted viscerally right off the bat, and then he calms down. He has that white hot moment where he's like, that's it. If I get my hands on you, I'm cracking your neck. It's over. I'm done. But then
he should. This is what I don't understand. It's like he should want to kill Norman. But he's Spider-Man. He doesn't kill. Spider-Man doesn't kill, but he should want to, and that's part of what makes him human. If he didn't want to, then, if Norman could not do something so bad, and again, this is why doesn't Spider-Man ever want to kill Carnage? Norman does horrible things to Peter. and the ones he loves. But Norman doesn't go around killing families and children and slaughtering people just for the sheer hell of it. But Peter doesn't want to. He doesn't want to kill Carnage, but he wants to kill Norman.
All right. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. We are going to be live in 30 seconds. We're 1 minute past due, so let me hit this in broadcast. We'll be over there in just a second. Be right back.